That old block 63rd Street stuff, that stuff ain't fake.
But it's really the fans now. It feels like bystanders are causing all the issues.
Man, look
They
here.
be so in love with the what it is. I guess I don't know.
Like when you see cats like Steven Jackson coming to Chicago and going to O Block, it's like, man, what are you doing, dog?
What are you doing? You're not helping the situation.
No, at all.
You the
Lucky
main
Lefty
one.
podcast.
Crazy.
Hope everyone had a great holiday. I'm your boy Sean Davis at SD2 Mics. That dude, the original Lucky Lefty himself, Malik Zaire. It was a big snack weekend, bro. That's what I learned. Like, do you think holidays are like watered down when they fall on the weekend?
I think the mystique of it lessens when you have it on the weekday as opposed to the weekend. Because you just already feeling like I think we're all on the natural rhythm of like everybody hates Mondays. By Wednesday, you on hump day, so your confidence and everything just a little more boosted.
Right.
But what's an interesting day is that Thursday. Thursday is an interesting day of the week because some people don't have work on Friday. Some people, the energy they get from looking forward to Friday,
right,
can be different. So Thursdays is a very, very particular day of the week. There's some things and events that happen on Thursday that will make you think it was the weekend. Where you like, dang, I can't believe I got to go to work tomorrow. Like it's Friday, I'm supposed to be.
Right.
Because Thursday night is just so spectacular. So I do think Thursdays do something to you. But when a holiday is on a weekday compared to a weekend, it just depends on the day. You know, if you have a holiday on a Monday, like we did yesterday, the fireworks is what got it equaled out. But it was hard for me not to think, do we have a Lucky Lefty podcast this morning?
I was thinking that right around 9:00, like, should we do a show?
It's because Monday is just like you're so expecting people to just be all right, got to go back on the grind, you know.
And it was the funny thing was, I don't know what you were doing, but I literally at that point in time was like doing nothing because we celebrated Sunday.
Yep.
And then everybody kind of because we had people in town, family members, and they got back on the road Monday.
And that's what always gets people is somebody got to go back to work. Somebody got to jump back into reality. It's always somebody at the house at the family gathering that's like, oh, I got to get up early. And it ruins the whole fact that everybody's like, oh, dang, because you so used to being like, it's a holiday, so the next day I'm going to sleep in. But when it's on the weekdays, somebody's going to ruin it by leaving right before they're supposed to get the extra card of spades played in.
Right
before you're supposed to do one more game, one more thing.
Right.
Somebody getting the babies together, saying they got something they got to do. And it's just like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
So it does ruin it a little bit.
So I was busy. It was a busy recruiting weekend, so I really didn't have a lot of time. And I'm the master griller for the family, right? So my mom decides to go ahead and place an order for somebody else to do all of the slabs and stuff, right?
The disrespect.
I didn't mind because I was like, all right, cool. I don't have to rush back and forth and have to.
You didn't feel away.
No.
I know you felt some kind of way.
No. I was like, yo, I don't have to come over there, prep food on Friday, then come over there extra early Sunday morning before I go to church and do it. Man, I could just relax, chill, left church, drove out to the house. Food was there. Cool. And, my mother, she got upset because I guess, my mother's a big baby back rib she loved baby backs. That's this is they didn't season it right, and I'm like,
well, you have somebody right here to know what to do.
Well, I didn't want to make you. I was like, dude, look, it's all good. So I stuck to the steaks and burgers this weekend.
That's just as good now.
Oh man, get you a good ribeye, porterhouse off that grill, especially if you put it in the slow cooker. Let that bad fella just kind of like with the mesquite chips. Just let it cook at about 275, 300. Yeah. Yeah. Man, I was laughing because my auntie from Michigan, she was sitting at the table and I started off with a burger. Then I went back and got a ribeye and another burger. And she was like, "You're not gonna eat any sides?" And I'm like, "Nah, I'm good." And she talked about me so bad, I went and got one ear of corn.
And you almost didn't. You almost had to dress it up so good.
Right.
You like, man, I might as well ate a steak. I put so many seasons
Oh man,
and butters and flavoring.
Great time, man. Did you hop on the grill?
I did hop on the grill. I made a couple burgers. I made some chicken breasts.
You probably got bougie though, because I know you like recipes and stuff. You probably got bougie. You probably did some seafood, some scallops.
No, I kept it real smooth, just burgers and chicken breasts. But I marinated the chicken breast the night before. I really got in there and made my special Hawaiian chicken. Sweet, but I got a little char to it. It's a nice flavor.
Yeah, yeah. Prayers up to everyone in Highland Park. It's about 25, 30 minutes from me. Unfortunate. And Malik and I was just laughing at, and it's just not to minimize, but we just found it ironic that, the shooting takes place up there and it's national news. And then, the small story on the local news was the 52 people that got shot in Chicago in the span of 2 days over the weekend.
50, it's like
it's literally within a span of like 6 miles. It's like a 6 to 7 mile radius.
It's not that far. Let everybody know this is not some Narnia distant land.
And for those of you
take a couple rights, a couple lefts, and hit the speed limit, you right there.
Yeah.
You're right.
And for those of you that have stuck around and been with us since day one, you probably are familiar with a debate that Malik and I had last year during one of our shows about guns. And I kept trying to tell him, like, bro, Chicago is different. Like, you don't understand. It's different up here, bro. Like, them bad fellas are like wallets in your pocket. Like, you just walk out the house with one when you're in the city. And unfortunately, man, we're in the time that we're in. We just hope and prayers go out for the entire country, man, entire world at this point, man. Let's talk some Notre Dame recruiting today. I don't know if I called you Saturday, you didn't pick up. And then you called me back and we played phone tag. Because I was trying to get you, let's start off with this. I was trying to get you to jump on this IG Live. Saturday night, 7 o'clock. I'm sitting here and I'm minding my business. And I see Carnell Tate goes live on Instagram. So I'm like, okay. I'm like, it's kind of weird. Saturday night, 7 o'clock. Like, I know he's at the crib, meaning in Chicago. Like, why is he going live? So I jump on. When I jump on, it's him, Samuel Mpemba, and Jordan Hicks, who just committed to Louisville.
Yep.
And So I'm sitting there laughing because, I didn't know not Jordan Hicks, Jordan Church, the offensive lineman. So they're sitting there and they're talking about the kids that are transferring in, right? 'Cause, they just got a new head coach. And they're like, yeah, man, we're going after this defensive back, you know, from Dallas, Texas. And then they kept saying, Jaden's coming. Jaden's coming. And I'm like, Jaden, who? Which we found out on Sunday when top 100 recruit Jaden Wayne announced that he'll be playing his senior season via Twitter at IMG Academy. So, I'm listening to them talk, and all of a sudden Jordan Church and then Pimba start going in on Cardell, like, yo, I don't know why you fronting. You know you're gonna flip to Tennessee. And Cardell was like, what? And they was like, dude, you wanted to go to Tennessee. And Cardell was like, yeah. He was like, yo, Tennessee is live. He was like, yo, Tennessee is live. Don't get it twisted. And Jordan Church says, yo, but what happened to Notre Dame though? And Cardell says, man, them people out of there. And so, I'm laughing, right? Because, you sitting there watching three homies chopping it up. Like real, like chopping it up for real. And so he came back around and he was like, no, real talk. He was like, yo, I love the coaching staff. He was like, Marcus Freeman, Tommy Rees, man, I love them. They super dope, super cool. He was like, he stopped himself. And then he said, man, I just couldn't rock with that living with another student. Right? And I was like, this is when I found it very interesting, right? Because what makes Notre Dame unique, and most of the time what fans love, isn't for everybody.
No.
Like some people are born flashy, right?
Yeah.
If that's your personality, why am I mad that that's your personality and how you flow? Doesn't make you a bad person. So then he was like, man, he was like, honestly, they had the worst dorms out of my finalists. Like he was just flat out.
Well,
he was flat out honest about it. And I was like, yo, as much as we look at these kids as elite football players, they truly are. Man, that's something that a normal college student would look at on a college visit. Like,
no facts.
What is the dorms?
They still kids,
right?
They still kids that like nice shiny stuff,
right? Yo, and he was just saying like, yo, he was like, man, he was like, I just couldn't see myself doing that, and he's like, that's one of the things that kind of bumped Tennessee up is like the facilities and everything they have, whatever. And he was like, Knoxville is lit. And it just goes to show you like every kid is looking at something totally different because the kids that committed to Notre Dame over the weekend, they might not care about the dorms. Or it might not be as high up on the list as it might be for somebody like Cardell.
The theme that you get from Notre Dame commits, especially the recruits, is that they keep saying and seeing the bigger picture that, yeah, I know I got to go through the stuff I may not love right now. And they're all bought into I just got to get through the right now because it may not be everything that I could have wanted from a comfort level, but I'm willing to be uncomfortable in the short time because of the network, because of the league, because of all the things that pay it forward and pay off once you go through that sleeping in the dorms, So I think majority of the kids that buy into Notre Dame buy into that fact specifically. They're like, NIL is not that big of a deal because I know if I ball, I'll get there. Yeah. Oh, Marcus Freeman said it's not that big of a deal because you got the network. You bigger than NIL is, So I think a lot of the commits maturity just shows they're thinking about the future and not the right now. And some kids, especially the generation now that's, like you said, born flashy, they're thinking of being flashy right now.
Yeah.
And I can't blame you. Because some of them are talented enough to be flashy now and get the benefits later.
And that's just their personality. Hey, let's not act like Notre Dame has never had a flashy kid on the team. Like,
Yeah.
you played with flashy dudes. Dudes that thought they were suave, get dressed to the nine, had swag. I mean, it's just par for the course, and it's just certain. I'm starting to learn more and more, man. I really want fans, Notre Dame fans, college football fans, to understand when you're watching these young men, make these decisions. These are not soft toss decisions, man. Just easy to knock out the park. These are difficult decisions. These are relationships that have been built up with multiple staffs and multiple coaches, some mentors that they knew through high school and younger ages. And now you have to decide between your mentor and, Notre Dame, like Christian Gray had to decide yesterday, man, do I go to the guy that stayed in the place and stepped into the gap when I lost my grandfather and helped me get to this point? Do I follow him to LSU? You know what I mean? Just out of loyalty? Or do I go to the place that I feel like really fits me, as a person and a player? That's a tough phone call, bro. Like, do you remember like having to call the programs to let them know that you had chosen Notre Dame and what that felt like?
I'm not gonna lie, I only called 2 programs. I called Nebraska because I really like Tim Beck. And I'm sorry, 3 calls. Nebraska, because I really like Tim Beck, and I really like what they had. Nebraska's a real football town, and I was thinking about there.
Tim Beck didn't do so good at Illinois, bro.
I know you gotta be, some coaches gotta be at the right place. It's weird to get the right environment. Gotta be set up for them. The other place I called was Pitt/Wisconsin, because when I got my Notre Dame offer, I was leaving Pitt, or the coach at Pitt, which is the coach at Wisconsin.
Mm-hmm.
That was my favorite coach, growing through the process. I just thought he was the man. Russell Wilson had just left Wisconsin with Paul Chryst. So that was at that time I was like, and I had met him, when he was at Wisconsin. He was super short. So I'm like, if he can do it, man, I'm there. It was like the time of him and Scott Tolzien and all that. So that was at Wisconsin. So I had called him, and that was the hardest one, just because it was like, dang, I thought that was my guy. It just changed, but I was sold on Coach Chryst. And then the last one was Urban at Ohio State, when he had just got in there.
Mm-hmm.
And I had committed to Notre Dame, and he had called me after I committed, trying to be like, wait a minute, man, you from here, you down the street. I know I just got here. Come on down. I swear we're gonna do this and this and this and this. I was like, nah, man, I'm good. This and that. I'm gonna go to Notre Dame. They stuck with me. And it's so funny thinking about it, because I'm like, what if I just listened to him? And it was like, you know what, Irvin, you're right, man. Let me slide down to Columbus. You never know. I'll be with Zeke and Mike Thomas and all that, So I think those conversations are tough, because I'm sure it was tough for Carnell. He done been to Notre Dame more times, I'm sure, than any other college.
Yeah, 7 times.
He done known the coaches, Marcus Freeman specifically, well, personally. And Marcus Freeman's a good dude. So letting a good dude like that down is like, oh man, it's like telling the priest you're not Catholic no more.
Right.
And Marcus Freeman, real professional. He gonna do his job. He gonna, with sincerity, tell you, he's happy for you, but he's probably hurting a little bit,
Right. But that's it. Why I appreciated it? Because a lot of people are like, man, this is big time football. What you worried about the dorms for? It's a kid.
Yeah.
He's a kid. And this is the amazing thing. Like, sometimes we want to act like just because these young men are on TV every week that they're grown men. It's like they're kids, man. they're 17, 18-year-old kids playing a game. And at the end of the day, this is why most of them get in trouble off the field, because they're 17, 18-year-old kids.
Yeah. I just think it's unrealistic to say a 17, 18-year-old should make all the right decisions.
Or have a proper path to making the best decision. Because it's easy for me to sit here and say, dude, man, you'll be out of the dorms in like another year. Or another 2 years. Like, don't worry about that. You can get your own place.
Seriously.
But I'm looking at it from a very mature standpoint. Now, the next thing that was very interesting, because this lasted about 20 minutes, bro. This is why I called you. Because I was dying laughing. So they keep messing with Carnell, telling him, like, you're gonna flip. You're gonna flip. Carnell was like, no, man, I'm a Buckeye. I'm a Buckeye.
Oh, you're a Buckeye, huh?
And
Buckeye.
remember, I was the one that said it doesn't matter. I said this months ago. I'm like, dude, if Carnell commits and I'm a program that's on him, I'm going to keep talking to him.
Yeah.
Throughout the season. Yeah. Flat out. So the conversation then switches. Jordan Church says, no. Carnell says, and he said, and plus with Notre Dame, he was like, man, that's on Dante. He says that. Jordan Church says, man, what you mean by that? And Pemba says, man, Dante going to Oregon. And at that point, Carnell makes this.
Said it on the live.
On the live. And at this point, Carnell makes this face and covers his mouth, like, and they were like, yo, what does that mean? He was like, man, I ain't got nothing to say. He was like, y'all, what is that where y'all think he's going? And they was like, he ain't going there.
It's too late now. It's too late.
And he was like, you must know something. And he was like, man, look, y'all gotta wait like everybody else.
Now we gotta wait.
So Jordan Church.
But I mean, if you think about it, who did we think was going to Oregon? Jaden Rashada.
Facts. And he ended up in Miami, right?
And once he went to Miami, I'm like, it ain't too many places Dante can go now. Like, we know he the best one, but where else you gonna go?
Yeah. So he said, Carnell got mad. Well, not mad. He just went back at Jordan Church, like, so they gave you money. They gave Ruben Owens money. They ain't gonna have.
Oh, look, now he wanna. Oh, look, I didn't know Chicago guys is like that. Now.
He said Louisville ain't got no more NIL money, dog. He said between you and Ruben Owens is already gone. And at this point, man, I'm in stitches. Because I'm like, I can't believe they're having this conversation on live right now.
Yeah, like it turned into like a versus or something.
Man. And they're laughing. And Pemba did something to his hair. Like he cut it and colored it or something.
Oh, hell no.
So now that's a whole nother thing. And they kept trying to get him to take his hat off. He wouldn't take his hat off. Mm-hmm. So man, it was absolutely funny. It was absolutely funny. I enjoyed it. And then I told them after they got off, because after they got off, I hit him up and I was like, boy, y'all some fools. And he was like, man, we just having fun.
Yeah, I dry snitching on each other though.
Man, that NIL comment was, man, I was like, yo, that's wild. That's wild. Because, and he's probably right though, keeping it a buck. It's not like Louisville has that deep.
I don't know. Lamar done raised the money a little bit.
So Lamar's contributions make it a little bit better.
Yeah, Lamar done added some shade to the sideline or something. He did something to the stadium.
So for me, I kept trying LL Nation. I called Malik. I'm like, yo, Malik has to hop on this, dude. And man, it was the funny. And I'm sure I'm missing some of the conversation, but those are the things that stood out to me. I just had to bring up, today on today's show. It was hilarious, man. I actually wish more kids. I'll keep it 100. I actually wish more kids would go on and do more IG lives like that and have real conversations.
Yeah.
Right?
Keep it real.
Because his comment about the dorms didn't offend me. Like, you might have some people in the fan base that get offended. Like, you are who you are, dude.
Yeah.
You are who you are.
Yeah, we don't get offended that people say our grades are too tough, that people can't get in. That's who we are.
Well, it's a badge. It's a badge that most Notre Dame fans love. They love it. So, no, all of that stuff, him saying something about the dorms, this, that, another, man. Because if I'm not mistaken, they still have some on campus that don't have AC. Didn't you say that?
Yeah.
So, I mean, it is what it is. Lucky Lefty podcast. We had the pleasure of having legendary Notre Dame quarterback Brady Quinn on with us last week. And with everything swirling around Notre Dame, as they sit at the eye of the storm of the USC UCLA move to the Big Ten, and allegedly Washington and Oregon being held in place by the Big Ten, according to reports, to see what Notre Dame is going to do. It was very interesting that Brady Quinn, pretty much told us his thoughts on Notre Dame and the patience that they can use in this particular situation.
So I actually see, like, if you look at the future of college football, how this thing's moving, you're probably moving towards 2 super conferences, and you have like an SEC, ACC partnership because they're all under that umbrella with ESPN, almost like the NFC, AFC. And you've got the Big Ten absorbing the Pac-12, Big 12, whatever else. And that's probably the world we end up living in. And you see that conference probably shared between Fox, whatever they lease out to ESPN, NBC, CBS, who's going to be looking to kind of bid on some of this. All those players are going to be involved. So that's where I think we're going. And so to go back to your question, it's hard to predict whether or not Notre Dame will be rewarded for their patience or if they'll be penalized, because you can make the case right now they've got leverage because everyone's probably calling them like, hey, if this realignment's happening and you eventually have to join a conference, like, we want you. You don't think every single conference commissioner is calling Jack Swarbrick right now and talking to him about aligning with them somehow, some way? And so, yeah, there's leverage there that they have, but you also have to think, they hold dear their independent model because of something outside of the 2 things we talked about: chance to play for a national championship and obviously that TV deal. And they hold it true because they have the ability to play all over the country in one given year, and that helps increase alumni contributions. And that's something that no other school can really represent. It's largely regionalized. That's the beauty of what the Big Ten's done. They basically looked at Notre Dame's schedule and said, hold on a second, if we can do this with a conference, it's going to benefit all the schools within that conference. The 25,000, for example, Ohio State alums that live in the state of California, all of them are fired up, excited about it. I'm sure they're going to donate and support more Ohio State when they come out on an annual basis to probably pay USC or UCLA.
It's a very interesting concept. I have my views on how patient Notre Dame can be. It was very interesting over the weekend watching you, your former teammates, guys like Aaron Taylor, all chiming in on social media. Tom Mendoza chiming in. The majority of former Notre Dame players are staunch in wanting to stay independent. But you do have a few that kind of say, look, we know what it is. It's time to go ahead and join a conference. Aaron Taylor, he put up a thread that, from his standpoint made a lot of sense. And he works for CBS, so he might have some inside information.
Yeah, I mean, it's just an interesting concept. I think the bouginess of where Notre Dame has placed themselves as an independent power. I wouldn't even say a regular independent school. I would say an independent power, because you look at the other independent schools and they're who they are. They're middle of the road teams. I think for us to be independent, have the schedule we do, and still be prominent to where we're in contention of the playoffs every year, not being in the conference, is something that you can get kind of spoiled off of if you're a fan or even a guy on the team, just because you feel like, look, we don't need to be in the conference and we can still make headways and be in contention like everybody else and do our own thing as well. So the autonomy is something that makes Notre Dame very, very attractive. I think for Notre Dame to go into a conference, it takes some of the mystique away from how traditional it is. I think if they do go in a conference, they can't have those dorms anymore. I think that will have to change because now you're going to have to be on a standard. Now you can't be unique in the things that we have and things that we're doing because we have to be on a team of other uh, people that are in a conference. So I think you lose naturally a lot of the mystique of Notre Dame joining the conference. I think it would hurt recruiting. I think it would do a lot of different things. So we've been doing it so long this way, and it's made us stand out to where you either hate us or love us. We're not like a forgettable team or a team that you forget about every year, like a North Carolina or a Wake Forest or Virginia or a Minnesota or a Purdue that get lost because they're in a conference. I think even in our down years, when Notre Dame comes to town, it's still like a Super Bowl game because we're a team that, we're a little bit everywhere. I think that's what others programs look at, and is why you got all the conferences calling us right now. Is because we are the most attractive free agent on the market because of the way we've done it independently. I think we lose a lot of that going to a conference, and it gives a lot of college football of what they want, and that's somebody with their foots on Notre Dame's head.
And for me, the patience that they have depends upon, well, not depends upon because it's fact. The current playoff is in place until 25. The SEC is done with CBS at 23, and the NBC deal, 15 million annually, is done at 24. Right, so that's another really 2 seasons minimum that Notre Dame can kind of like let things play out, right? And money won't be the main factor, right? Because if money was the main factor, the jump would have happened a long time ago.
Notre Dame has a $10 billion endowment.
Number 7 in the nation. Number 7 in the nation. And if money was the main factor, like I said, it would have happened a long time ago. The one thing
if TV was a main factor,
yeah.
If money or TV was a main factor,
the one thing that will push Notre Dame to that point is if these super conferences come into play and they're forced because of a college football playoff situation to whereas they say in order to be in a college football playoff, you have to be in a conference. Then ultimately Notre Dame will be in a tough position. But even if they wait to that point and wait it out to 25, guess what? Then it's going to be a bidding war because everybody's going to want Notre Dame to be in that conference specifically because of the brand.
Specifically.
But
the brand was built because of an independence. That's how the brand was built.
Yeah.
If you buying that, that's damn near you couldn't afford it.
Yeah. Yeah.
You couldn't afford it because you're not buying unless you just buying the football team. But even with that, it's too much history with the football team in its own entity.
Yeah.
That you would be buying basically the interlocking logo. And that model doesn't fit us in a conference at all.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, unless there was other schools like Notre Dame, and there's not. Even the elite academic programs don't have the same amenities that Notre Dame has, especially a relevant football team. So you can't say like a Harvard or a Columbia, these schools, that's a whole league. That's a whole group of schools that are the same in that aspect.
Right.
You can't say BYU is like us. They're not. Can't say Coastal Carolina is like us. They're not. These are other independent schools. So for us, you would be asking these conferences will basically be having to buy the Notre Dame brand, and I don't even think you can put a dollar amount on that.
Yeah, Lee
So,
Marie
interesting.
brings up a point: blocking paths to CF playoffs could present an antitrust issue. Interesting to look into. Notre Dame wouldn't do that. No, that would drag out. That's like 2 seasons that Notre Dame would be in limbo.
Or Notre Dame can make their own conference.
That they could do. But at the end of the day, once the 25 contract is done and it's a 2 super conferences like the AFC and the NFC, and they write the new playoff contract, the contract is the contract.
Contract to contract.
Contract is the contract, man. You know, and Notre Dame knows. Like USC going to the Big Ten did not catch Notre Dame by surprise.
No.
You know why? Because Brady Quinn knew. He works for Fox. He knew. Notre Dame knew what was going on with USC and UCLA. Jack Swarbrick is very well aware of the way things are headed, or where the way things are headed, specifically with the college football playoffs. And you go back and you look at the succession of teams from independence. It was pretty much the powers that be. Dominoes fell, and the only one that was left standing was Notre Dame. Penn State goes first, then Miami goes, then Florida State goes, and it's like Notre Dame.
Because it's never been about the money for us. Yes. That's why you can't. That's why it's like, how if it's never been about the money or TV for us, how you gonna ask us now? Yeah. If anything, we really not changing. I mean, you could try to structure something to exclude us, but you're not gonna have college football without Notre Dame either.
Yeah.
So we got everybody where we want them, because they don't have many options. How do you if we never join for money, we're not joining for money now, so you're not gonna get us with that. We got too much of a standalone model that makes us who we are, which is why we are where we are now. You can't get us with that.
Yeah.
Y'all don't have enough money to buy the value of the interlocking logo, because if anywhere we go, we boosting up the entire conference. So what is it that y'all giving us? Because it's not money that we looking for, that we would want to be a part of it. That would be the conversation. If I'm Jack, I'm like, what could you give me that I don't already have myself?
Right.
Better dorms. Like, if anything, you're gonna make me spend more money updating my school to y'all giant ass universities that y'all have already.
Yeah. It's like that artist rider, right? In the contract. Like, yeah. I need M&Ms and a bowl of jelly beans in my dressing room.
Yeah, we're gonna need all hot towels, stuff, all type of stuff.
Perrier water, right? And you're like, dude, come on, man. But that's the type of stuff. If you know Notre Dame, like, okay, I'm gonna need some assurances to drop what makes me special, to come and bless your conference and elevate it. You have to give me some things. You're definitely gonna have to give me some things. You know, and I just can't see many conferences.
Now, what do they have to offer?
Other than TV money?
I mean, you would have to give us $1 billion almost, because we are more valuable on TV than any other of these schools. The last 3 or 4 seasons, we've been on major night television for college football games like every other week. In one season, I don't remember having a regularly scheduled during the day game. Every game was 3:30, 8:30, prime time. So the value that we're adding to any conference on a TV level, they can't afford us. That's essentially why Fox couldn't just go do a deal with Notre Dame on the side. The difference between us and Texas got the money. but they don't have the mystique. They don't got the model, and they got their own network, the Longhorn Network, but that's not equivalent in pulling the numbers that Notre Dame's pulling. We've been pulling numbers since radio was alive.
And let's be honest. Can we be honest? This is what, in my opinion, as a producer, it's not a good product. If we're going to be honest, like the game day and the stuff that they could be doing with podcasts, with the football program that they don't do, dude, I think they're missing out on the revenue stream, another revenue stream that can make the program even bigger. And Notre Dame is just like, man, we'll let NBC handle.
Yeah, it's like nothing is impressing Notre Dame enough to move the needle. And I just think that's where maybe we're the LeBron of college football. Whatever we decide to do.
Boy, I love the way you find a way to get your boy name in there. Boy, I swear. You always find
it would have to be. We have to LeBron the league in a sense, because the league is waiting on us. We bring the most money, like LeBron. When we go to Thanksgiving, we bring the dish that everybody comes for. We making the mac and cheese.
Mac and cheese?
We making the mac and cheese, and we making the yams. And if you give us enough time, we might even bring the turkey. Now you asking us to come to your Thanksgiving with terrible sides? You asking us to come to the Thanksgiving with no games, with no I mean, what are we talking about? So because Notre Dame has the pot of gold, literally, what are we gonna do? What is a team can't pay enough for us? There has to be an intrinsic value in there somewhere where it's maybe it's a religious tie. Maybe the whole conference got to turn Catholic. Because what is the other pool other than Jesus himself that's going to get us into a conference? Because it's not money. And we know most of these schools are operating without money. A lot of these schools don't generate money for their athletics program. We're good. I think you're on mute.
I believe it was a U.S. News article from last November, if I'm not mistaken. And the $15 million, Notre Dame takes that $15 million and allows it to generate close to another $20 million. So it's about, and I'll give you a perfect example, right? Because, and I mentioned this over the weekend, the thing about being in a conference and being a team like Alabama or Ohio State that literally carries the banner for that conference and makes that conference what it is. It
makes other schools money.
Right. So now you got to sit down when a check comes in and you got to cut up the same pie and give Rutgers the same amount. The same amount of money. But here's the key. Alabama's cool with that. Well, they're not cool with that, keeping it a buck. They're not cool with that.
No.
But Alabama can then take that money and generate 10 times what Rutgers can generate.
The only reason, I give another example, the only reason why the Dallas Cowboys haven't succeeded from the NFL is because of the draft. It's because they have to have the draft. If it was a NIL thing or whatever, like how college football is ran, where you can give scholarships, the Dallas Cowboys would never have joined the NFL. It would have been like NFL plays the Dallas Cowboys. We're the Dallas Cowboys of college football because we're the most famous brand in sports. We make our own money. We don't need. We're not getting supported by other leagues when we support ourselves. So because there's no draft, it makes us. What is the point for us to join anything without us losing a lot? I mean, we would be losing more than anybody else would join in the conference. We would lose on recruiting. We would lose on mystique. We'll probably have to change the campus around. We'll probably have to do so many different things that will make Notre Dame a public school.
Right.
Notre Dame can't lose Notre Dame. It would just be called Notre Dame, the public school.
Yeah. Yeah.
We would have to do too many things to make it right, to fit a conference standard. Because now you join in a standard. Unfortunately, our standard happens to be a gold standard. They have a conference standard. We have a gold standard. You know, we're not using everybody's getting the same food from the same place. We make it and growing our own food. Even the cafeteria. We get local food from the cafeteria. We don't go to get these big trucks that come in from these big places. So even down to the burger patties, we're different.
Yeah.
So it'll just be hard for us to convert to a system that offers you less.
Yeah. And it's not, you know, I see we had that comment about the antitrust, and I see, you know, the responses in the chat. I want to be clear. I'm not sitting here saying that Notre Dame wouldn't have a claim. Notre Dame's not going to go that route. Notre Dame has always been at the table making decisions. That's all they want to do. They want to be at the table making decisions. They're not about to sue the other schools that they have relationships with and go, it'd be too messy.
We move the pendulum.
Yes. They have way more leverage than to go that route. So many other things they can do before they even get to that route. And that route that's almost like you having an issue with your brother. You know what I mean? And I see y'all cats end up in the people's court over 1,500. And that's your blood brother. It's like, dude,
that's your brother now.
Right. It's the same thing with Notre Dame and the other big schools. At the end of the day, when you talk about all of this other stuff, Notre Dame is always right there sitting and talking. And let's not forget Kevin Warren, who Gene Smith at Ohio State is a Notre Dame guy. Like, there's so many Notre Dame advocates.
So many Notre Dame athletes. And on top of that, not only do we supply ADs to other schools.
Yeah.
You have to think. There's nothing that we like. You have to think, okay, the Big Ten meets, they all call each other and talk together. After they all call and talk together, guess what they do? They get on the phone and call Jack.
Yeah.
They said, Mr. Sorber, this is what we decide over here at the Big Ten. How can you work with this? Because I know y'all playing our biggest teams in the conference, and our games are bringing the most money watched all season. This is what we got going on. What you think? How can you help us? Jack Swarbrick is a consultant to other conferences.
Yeah.
When schools going through things, I'm sure schools call up Notre Dame and be like, what you think about this? What you think about this? How y'all do it over there?
Yeah.
Whoop-de-whoop. Because most of these schools don't make money. Most of these schools don't make no money.
You take Florida State, they're still in a financial doldrum.
In a conference.
Yeah.
So you in a conference, bro. That don't give us no inspiration to join y'all. Because y'all, once again, we already told y'all not offering us nothing by us going to y'all. So now we look at y'all conference and y'all got people broke in the conference? Oh no. What we doing with that?
Lucky Lefty podcast, man. It's just very interesting. And like we said, Notre Dame is in position where they can be patient from a contractual standpoint. They can be patient from a team standpoint. Don't let Marcus Freeman actually win a national championship.
Oh, yeah.
And it's really all. They can really.
It'll be like Aaron Rodgers on the Packers.
Right.
Oh, you want to get Jordan Love? Oh, I win the MVP of the league. Now what?
Dude, if they win a championship, Notre Dame's literally going to look at the Super Conference like, we the defending champs. You really want to keep us out? Is that what y'all really want to do?
The only way to make this right is that if Notre Dame makes their own conference, and we get to pull the teams we want.
Yeah.
That's it. That's the only offer college football as a whole entity, NCAA as a whole entity, can offer Notre Dame. Look, we don't have enough to give y'all your own conference, but we want to super thing this thing up. How about y'all get your own conference? Y'all can pick 10 teams from anywhere you want. And that'll be the 10 teams y'all play, you know what I'm saying? Plus a minus 1 or 2.
Yeah.
Because other than that, not even Alabama has more leverage than us. No. And they win all the time.
No.
But we what Alabama wish they could be. Alabama can never be us because they in a conference. So they can never be us. Never. I don't care how many championships they can never be Notre Dame ever because they in a conference. Now, the only way we can make this fair for us, because that's what it's about, making it fair for us. You gotta be able to give us our own stuff. Because we got it down. We got everything now. TV money, recruits, coaches, whatever you need.
Our own referees.
Our own referees. Like, we put the Jumbotron up and stuff just to stunt.
Yeah.
And we didn't need no conference money to do it. We didn't call no conference to be like, hey, we need a new field, we need turf.
Yeah.
We need to add something to the stadium to make it bigger. We was like, you know what? We so good at what we do. Let's reach in our little bank, little piggy bank.
Yeah.
And just splurge on the field. Splurge on the Jumbotron. Splurge on some upgrades. Independent. We're what the music industry would hate if we was an artist. We funded our own stuff. We making our own albums.
Yeah.
We setting up our own tours, got our own merch. Literally make $1 million for merch every week. We a bad mofo in college football, I'll tell you that.
Yeah. And they still aren't selling the best merch from Under Armour.
And still ain't selling that Marcus Freeman line. And they stingy on the line.
Yes. Like, yo, just go ahead, just like Nike used to release the Tiger Woods line with the TW on the back. And he just go ahead, release the Under Armour with the MF on the back.
Just go ahead and let it go.
Just let it go.
I think sometimes because we good Christian as a school, we don't like to keep winning. You know how you win so much, you be like, I kind of feel bad. Don't feel bad.
You see what Mike Sullivan said? Mike Sullivan said, touchdown Jesus in the GC conference. Shout out to Mike. Oh,
the good Christian conference. I'm telling you. We need that good Christian conference.
LL Malik has actually designed a good Christian shirt, a GC shirt. He's going to release it.
Fire. It's fire. Make sure y'all go get that in the store when we drop it. Sean Good Christian shirt.
Lucky Lefty podcast. Hey, bro, big weekend recruiting. And then we'll talk recruiting, and then I'll let you release some intel towards the end of the show that you got over the weekend that sounds interesting. But right now, I just really want to talk about our favorite player from over the weekend.
In the game here. That's why we'll take it.
I want to make sure I get from our broadcast on IB. So this is Micah Bell. Yo. It's just him playing running back. He's oh man, bro. For one moment, I would like to feel what it's like to have the wind go by me that fast.
See, the running back doesn't impress me. The DB plays impress me because I know that's way harder than playing running back in high school. But his ability on just game speed, like he got pads on and stuff, and a helmet and shoulder pads, and he's like super athletic, supremely athletic. I just think it's a good look to have that kind of on the field screen popping plays. You talk about screen poppers. This is a screen popper. This is what screen popping plays look like. where a guy is moving at another speed. You know how sometimes guys look like they're moving at different speeds on the field, but they may not be no blazer, but they just moving at a different pace. That's what this kid looks like on film, and I know it's going to look good on the field as well when he gets to Notre Dame. Plays the ball great. Something that we've lacked a lot is ball in the air ability. We got a lot of guys that can run with you, a lot of guys that can be right there, but we need more guys that can make plays on the football. And Michael Bell got the athleticism for it. A lot of the time, sometimes you just got to be athletic for it. There's one thing to be in position, that's technique being trained. There's another thing to be an athlete and make a play. Michael Bell's got a combination of both. I think you're on mute. I think he's still on mute. I know we being petty with the merch, but we got it, yo. We gonna drop it. We gonna drop it. I think you're on mute still. Or
Christian Graves, the other bookend at defensive back that committed to the class on yesterday. He committed on his official visit. So we knew that was coming. He tried to keep it under wraps, even though he canceled his USC official visit. He still went to the Ohio State official visit. Ohio State is in the news. Jason Moore, someone that Notre Dame wanted, they don't necessarily need him along the defensive line. I guess Ohio State is trending for him right now, and it's pretty much Notre Dame, Ohio State, Michigan. We'll see how it goes, you know.
Yeah.
You know, look, man, Notre Dame's in great shape, man. It's to the point now where I've conditioned myself to say, oh, we lost him? Okay, we good. You know how losing like a player like Jason Moore used to hurt? Like, it doesn't even hurt anymore. It's like, oh, he wants to go somewhere else? Like, okay. Like, oh, Micah Tease wants to go to Arkansas? All right. Cool. Let's rock out. What's the next target? Who else are we going after? Who are we going to flip? Like, that's just the mentality, and I think that's the mentality the staff has, man.
Yeah, I think this is the more of knowing who you are. It's like once you know who you are, stuff like what used to bother us doesn't bother us anymore. We're the pretty girl at school. We finally took the glasses off. We got over that moment where everybody's shocked and asked, who is this girl? Now we still that fly girl. So now this is just on the usual. For us, being the elite recruiting that we've been trying to be and which we are turning into now, we're at the point where we're so forward thinking that you might miss the train if you're too slow. You know, we done got this thing kicking now where, all right, we coming by for sure. But we ain't stopping the train either. And if you're not hopping on, you might end up catching the end or you may miss it. So I think this is where we should be, being that we are a top 5 program every year. If we was another team, then like you said, we was a giant, a 6'11" guy playing as a 6'3" guy. Now we know we 6'11", we playing like it, and so we taking names and kicking asses. I think he's on mute.
24 wide receiver Cam Williams jumped it off. Then Charles Jagger on Thursday. And I see maybe 2 more commits over the next week or so. 2, maybe 3, honestly. And then, you know, they have 4 to 5 kids to work on going into the fall season. They might even add some kids to the board. that are currently not on the board, or just might try to flip some kids. Man, great position, man. Great. I called it the Avalanche on social media and on the podcast. That this is the Avalanche that's coming, and it's not slowing up. There's still some more aftershocks coming, and this class is trending to be absolutely fantastic. You had some intel before we get to the petty train from this weekend that came to you. That was pretty interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I think the reclassifying rumors are sort of swirling. I think, we always try to be logical and understanding why something like this would take place. But I think the reclassification from CJ's side, especially the way he's been recruiting himself, became prominent, maybe because the Dante thing is true, added to what we talked about with Carnell and slipping up. Maybe Dante's going to Oregon and putting some of the pieces together that Dante can only go to a couple schools anyway. I think from what transpired with the CJ thing is kind of pushed things forward in the sense where Tommy kind of positioned CJ as the next guy in line, where, I'm hearing rumors where they told him, we don't really need you to come early because we like what we got in the stable, which is good, which is, as a Notre Dame fan, unbiased, this is all good information because we want Tyler Buckner to be the guy.
You're darn right. You're darn right.
So if Tommy believes in Tyler Buckner enough to tell CJ not to reclassify because he really likes what we got, then that's good news, So this is all good news. I'm reporting as an unbiased fan. As a biased fan, I would have really, really, really liked to have Dante too. Not saying that he's out of the picture, but to have Dante, CJ, and TB in one room, I think we just increase our chances of being successful on winning a national championship.
Yeah. Lucky Lefty podcast. So we thank everybody. Let me make sure I get to these super chats we had today. Ryan Loftus sent us a sticker. We appreciate you, Ryan. Charlie Weiss, last belt loop with Jay Moore now trending for OSU. Can Notre Dame still flip him during the season? Where does Indy turn from here? With Keeley and Vernon and Jay and Devin Houston. Jason Moore is not like we got to get this dude. He's more like a luxury in this class if you get him. And it'll be interesting to see if they continue to recruit him throughout the fall, or they fall back, or just look elsewhere. You've been wanting them to go get, you got Devin Houston, you've been wanting them to go get that monster in this class, that big 300-pounder.
Yeah, I always think if you get a guy that's 330 or maybe even overweight that you can work into shape just to have on the team when he run out there for warm-ups, or even put him in the 3 deep, 2 deep, I think it's just a heavy body to move out the way, regardless of technique and skill. Yeah. 330 pounds, a lot to just be moving. Yeah. It'll complicate some things. So having, training table be too healthy sometimes over at Notre Dame, man. Put some meat and potatoes on that thing, man.
Oh, Justin Fleming, thank you for the super chat. Shauna Malik, love the show. Wanted to say thank you. So happy birthday, Justin. Today is my birthday, and I appreciate head coach Marcus Freeman and the staff celebrating early with an awesome week in recruiting. Keep up the great work. Thank you, Justin. We appreciate you and the rest of LL Nation, man. This is why we get up every day to talk Notre Dame football, because of you guys, man. And I'm looking forward to maybe a couple of more commits over the next week or so, bro.
That's right.
Man, hopefully we'll get those and continue to build out the lead for the 23 rankings. You know what time it is.
Petticoat. Petticoat Junction.
It's time to get petty.
We did a good job executing. Are you upset with something?
And fire up the Petticoat Junction train.
I just don't like you. You don't? No.
What is today's petty historic? Petty Junction.
That's right. Petty Junction, petty story of the day. Brought to you by Onora Whiskey, OnoraWhiskey.com. That premium American whiskey, OnoraWhiskey.com. And if you drink, make sure that you drink responsibly. On a serious note, this kid that decided to do what he did yesterday, and everyone that wanted to participate in 52 people being shot in the Chicago area.
Oh, petty, man.
Man, super petty. Super petty. Then I want to throw the British tabloid writer that had the nerve to ask Venus Williams and her mixed doubles partner, now that Serena has lost, are you just in it to get further than she got, or are you actually in it to win it? That's one of the dumbest questions to ask any competitor. She has millions of dollars, dude. She doesn't need to be across the pond. You think she's just over there just trying to make it around further than her sister?
We gotta get these boys up out of here, man.
Man.
What they say, new media? Draymond Green, new media.
Man. You got anybody else on the petty train?
Man, petty train just started, man. We about to get off this petty train for today, but I know I'm gonna have somebody end of the week.
Lucky Lefty Podcast, man. We'll talk to you guys tomorrow for another great episode. Make sure you go like, hit the notification bell, share, let everybody know at SC2 Mics at Overtime Malik. Lucky Lefty Podcast. We spend it different. We'll see you guys tomorrow for another episode.